Hey, what's up, everyone? Thank you for joining me for another YouTube video. So this is very interesting. Apparently, sometime last night I saw a video on this, but I decided not to really talk about it until today to kind of just get my thoughts together. But Nintendo purchased another company. Don't know if you heard about it, but they bought Shiver Entertainment, which is interesting for a few reasons. One reason it's interesting is because usually Nintendo doesn't go around purchasing companies. I mean, it's been stated by the president before that they like to go hand in hand and have partnerships. They feel like that's just a better relationship to have when it comes to, these partners of theirs that make games. And even recently, with their last transaction, if you want to even call it a transaction, with Next Level Games. Next Level Games made games for them for years, and they just bought them I think in 2020. So anyways, Shiver Entertainment is one of those kind of companies that has been making ports for Nintendo for a while. So this actually means quite a bit to someone like me and my over analytical brain that likes to take everything and just sort of run wild with accusations and thoughts and what ifs and everything else. But what I think this means is real simple, because Shiver Entertainment has done ports for Nintendo before. And even recently, they've done games like the Mortal Kombat game. I think they did some other game also on the Switch. So what they're most notorious for doing recently is third-party ports, especially when developers don't feel like they can bring those games over to the Switch. So you can already kind of start to see the gears working with this, because this obviously means that if we're going to continue to have companies that make these port games, like, what is it? Is it Red Button? Panic Button? I can't remember. There's some company that I think has some kind of button in their name. They make games for Nintendo and porting them over to their consoles and stuff like that. So what this sounds like it means to me is we're going to see more ports of third-party games coming to Switch and also with Switch 2, which is fantastic, because that's exactly what Nintendo needs to do to continue with their momentum. I mean, after all, you already get the fantastic first-party games, right? Like, we know that Nintendo has a wonderful library of first-party games and franchises that they bring to the table with every console generation. But they don't always bring the third parties. And that's usually because in the past they've been relying on third-party companies to make the games. They've been trying to make it really enticing and say, well, this, that, and the other. And they've been able to have success with that with the Switch, because it's been a very hot item. It's been selling very well over the last several years that it's been out. But what happens if you get another dud? What happens if you get another Wii U, another GameCube, another system that just doesn't sell as well as what it should? Because really the GameCube had no reason not to sell better than what it did. Like, there was just no reason for it. But same thing with the Wii U. There really wasn't any reason for it not to sell as well as it did, just simply off of advertising. If they had named it something different, I really do think, and if they advertised it as being a successor to the Wii and not confusing the public, I really think that the Wii U would probably still have been around at least until right around the time when everybody else was releasing next-gen consoles. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised at all. But that's another discussion for another time. What happens if you get another dud? Well, now you've got companies like Next Level Games, and you've got companies like Shiver Entertainment that can port those games over for you. That can take those games that maybe you don't want to have your first-party developers working on. Maybe it's just like, what, we really want to bring over A Link Between Worlds to the Switch 2, but we can't figure out how to do it. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to let Grezzo Entertainment do it. We're going to let Shiver Entertainment do it. We're going to let whoever. And that's fine. But this also means that now you don't have to worry about that particular developer either. Meaning that if you want to continue to bring Mortal Kombat's over, or if you want to even do a situation to where maybe Microsoft wants to bring over Call of Duty games to Switch consoles, but they're not quite sure how to do it, well, then you can get a situation like what you've been seeing with Monolith Studios, where they worked with the Legend of Zelda team for some development parts of Tears of the Kingdom. You can easily bring that team in there and say, well, we know the Switch hardware inside and out. We know the Switch 2 hard architecture inside and out. Here's what you can do to get the best possible performance from it. And I think it's a really smart decision to do that, because that's what I think the whole point of the deal with Microsoft was. Yes, you get Blizzard. Yes, you get Activision. You get such and such companies. And yes, you get a great portfolio of games. But you also get a team of developers that can learn the hardware and learn how to develop for it effectively and quickly. But also, so that way you get a nice turnaround on it. You're not waiting 4 or 5 years for a game to come over to the Switch, or waiting for a developer to get around to it whenever they feel like it. You can just say, no, we got a company that knows our architecture very well. They can help you bring it over and port it basically within the same day or within a month or so from other console or PC releases. And I think that that's fantastic if that's what they did. And if we even get to a point to where Shiver Entertainment starts making their own IP, well, then that's even better for Nintendo, because then we start to see those games and we get more franchises. But either way, it's just nothing but good news the way that I see it. But of course, make sure that you share your thoughts on it if you think anything different. But I see it as nothing but a good thing. I mean, when you have Shiver Entertainment, who's been making ports for the Switch this whole time, nobody's really bought them, even though they were owned by Endeavor. Was it Endeavor? I think it was Endeavor that owned them. And then Nintendo just basically just outright acquired them because, hey, you've already been making games for us anyways, right? And it was probably next to nothing to purchase them because they're just a third-party studio that Endeavor owned and probably wasn't doing anything with them anyway. So why not? And then this way, when the Switch 2 comes out, you can say this game, this game, this game, this game, these third-party games that were on Microsoft consoles, that were on PlayStation consoles, they're now coming to the Switch same day, same launch window, within a month or two. Instead of having to say 1 to 2 years down the line, we see this game come to the Switch because, you know, the developers have been working on it forever. I think it's going to be a pretty good thing. At least that's what I think. But of course, it's ultimately going to depend upon all the big brass up at Nintendo, of course, whether they want to do anything with them. Because you can own a company like Retro Studios, and they can sit there and do nothing for years while you wait on certain games to come out. Not any games in particular, nothing with a 4 in it, nothing at all. You're just sort of waiting. But I digress. That really does come down to Nintendo. But I think that if they're going to be smart, and I think they are going to be smart with Switch 2, they're going to be smart with the name, they're going to be smart with the advertising, and they're going to make it very clear that it's a successor, that it's going to make it very clear what the system is, what it does. And I think that if they're going to be smart and use this company, it's going to have a really good launch window, because not only are you going to get those first-party games from Nintendo directly and their developers, but you're also going to have the companies that they bought, like Shiver, that make these ports that will then bring those titles over, like the Call of Duties, like Assassin's Creeds, like whatever title you want to name that has been on a Nintendo console before, but maybe hasn't been showing up as frequently because whatever developer doesn't want to get around to making it. Now You have another company that will. You just give them a little bit of a, money situation, how it's going to work, and there you go. But that's just my 2 cents. What do you think about the whole situation? I'm looking forward to it. But I'll see you in the next video, and have a good one.